Oh, hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our end of summer Camino Routes webinar. Thanks for your patience. We're going to start in about half a minute. We'll just wait for everyone to come in who's coming in. And thank you for joining us from um, all the locations you are in. Just please make sure you're on mute. You should be on mute when you're logged in. But just make sure you're on mute, and we'll start just now in a couple of minutes. Sorry, a couple of seconds, really. Just to confirm, it's 408, 401?
408, 401. And 408, 401 is the passcode, yeah.
Perfect. Getting out a few emails in there.
Yeah, I have a few as well.
Cool. All right, so let's start off. Again, thank you very much for joining us. Let's say we have people from lots of locations, even a couple of travel agents there as well. So that's great to see. The webinar subject today, well, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Jeremy Perrin. I'm the General Manager with CaminoWays. We've been kind of offering Camino tours for about 15 years now, and we love it. And then we have Jonathan with us as well, who's been with us for nearly 2 years now, who's our marketing manager and has put everything together. So thank you to Jonathan. During the webinar, you can ask questions in the chat box. Jonathan will be monitoring the questions, and we'll try and get to them at the end of the webinar, so we'll answer as many questions as we can. I know we've quite a few people joining us today, and thank you very much. So the subject of today's webinar is based on the fact that we are kind of coming into the summertime now, but also obviously people book well in advance. So we're going to have a chat about end of summer Camino routes. So what's really the best routes to book towards the end of summer? So we'll just give a bit of an introduction about the company first, and then we'll run through these routes. So if you move on to the next slide, please, Jonathan. So yeah, at CaminoWays, as I said, we've been offering Camino tours for 15 years. So we're very much specialists in providing walking and cycling tours on the Camino and pretty much all of the routes. We don't do all of the routes because some of them just aren't viable to do it with hotels and what we do. But generally, all the routes we offer, there's one or two we don't, but all the popular ones we do. So we offer walking and cycling tours on the Camino. For the accommodation, we book hotels only. We don't book hostels. Absolutely perfect through the Camino and hostels, but we unfortunately don't book them. So we book hotels only, and hotels are typical hotels or standard hotels are kind of 3-star level. Then we do 4-star, 5-star, and also casa rurales or country cottages, which are kind of rural locations situated off the Camino. All hotels are private ensuite rooms, and they offer breakfast. For lunches on the Camino, you generally have lunch in the lots of lovely cafes and restaurants that are on the route, and then we can do dinner as you want. So generally, we provide dinner in the smaller towns and villages. We don't provide dinner in the larger towns and cities because it's nice actually to go out and experience what they have to offer. Extra services, so we also provide luggage transfer as standard, so people love us for that. So we pick up your main bag and we bring it to your next hotel where you just have a day pack on your back while you walk, and that's really standard for people now, and people love us for that. And then if you're flying into a local airport close to where you're starting, we can provide you with private airport transfers. So whether that's you're with a group or walking individuals or with a small group, we can provide you with a private airport transfer from a local hotel to the start of your Camino, and at the end as well back to the local airport. If you're flying transatlantic into a major hotel, or sorry, major airport like Madrid or Barcelona, you probably need a connecting flight up to Porto or Santiago de Compostela, or Bilbao, or wherever you're starting your Camino. That's where we can offer the transfer from. We do guided tours as well. So we have our own book on guided tours on selected routes and selected dates. You can look at that on our website, CaminoWays.com, and just at the top, click guided tours. and that'll show you the dates and locations of the guided tours. We'll be launching our 2026 guided tours probably towards the end of next month. Self-guide is what most people do. So essentially that, we'll organize your accommodation, luggage transfer, airport transfers if you wish, and you self-guide. So you arrive at the hotel, go to sleep, pretty much the next morning you get up and start your Camino. And we support that with a very good online tour pack, which gives you all the information you need to travel the route, all the hotels where you're staying, route information, live mapping, a link to Google Maps, which you can download onto your device. And and that's, that works incredibly well. And we would love your feedback if you're having any difficulties or issues with any of that, and feedback on anything really, because we really appreciate that. You're the people who walk the Camino possibly and hopefully book with us, and you're the people who can give us the best feedback on things like that. We also work with groups. So if you're a group, if you have a group of people, whether you're a group of friends, business, walking club, charity, church, we work with many, many different types of groups, and we can facilitate and tailor tours for groups. While you're en route, we do have a 24-hour assistance number. And somebody asked me the other day, is the assistance number, does the person speak English? And they absolutely do, because most of our clients are English speaking. But then most of all our hotels and services are either Spanish, Portuguese, or Italian. So yes, the person you will get on the other side of the phone will speak English, and will also speak the local language, so they'll be able to help you and sort whatever that issue out may be. We use WhatsApp a lot on our assistance phone as well. Some days can be busy, and sometimes, between kind of 3 to 6 o'clock will be a peak time for assistance phone. So if you're not getting a reply when you call WhatsApp, we'll 100% get back to you and help you sort out that issue if you have one. Mostly things run very smoothly though. So thanks, Jonathan. Let's have a look at the popular Camino routes. So here's a map of pretty much all the routes we do offer before we get into the kind of end of summer routes. So the Camino Frances. So first of all, what you're looking at is Southern Europe, essentially, with Spain on the left and Italy on the right. And in Spain and Portugal, you have the Camino de Santiago, with the Camino Frances highlighted in white, which is the most popular route coming from Saint Jean Pied de Port all the way across northern Spain, finishing in Santiago de Compostela, which is in western Spain. On the top, we've got the Camino del Norte, which is the northern way, which goes essentially from Santander all the way across the northern coast and then cuts down into Santiago. I'll keep on the north coast because from very pure north of Santiago, you've got a Coruña and Ferrol, and you can walk what's known as the Camino Inglés, or the English Camino, from the north coast down to Santiago. It's only about 109 kilometers. So I call it the lazy way. But yeah, the English and the Irish used to get the boat down to the northern coast there and then walk down to Santiago back in the day. And then coming from the south, we have the Camino Portuguese, which is gaining so much popularity. It's fantastic. And really from Porto, which is kind of halfway up to Santiago, is very, very popular, mostly coastal. Porto to Bayona in Portugal, and then from Bayona up to Santiago in Spain. So it's excellent. You get two different cultures, fantastic food, and a bit of sea life as well. So it's a really good route. In the south, you see we do the Ruta Vicentina. While not connected to the Camino, it's a fantastic walking route on the west coast of Portugal, coming down to Cape St. Vincent, which is absolutely stunning, very coastal, but quite adventurous because it wouldn't have the same level of services on the route as the Camino. In the middle, we have the La Plata coming up from Seville. We don't do that. We only do it in the last 100 from Orense, but that's for later because I know it's one of our subject matters for the summer Caminos or late summer Caminos. And then through France, we have the Le Puy, which is a really stunning route, which is gaining so much popularity, definitely for the more adventurous, but coming from Le Puy down through central Spain into Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. So it's absolutely connected to the Camino, and it's a feeder route that people would have walked back in ancient times to get across the Pyrenees to come into Spain. And then in Italy, we also do the Via Francigena, which essentially is the Camino to Rome. Absolutely incredible to walk into Rome. I have done it. You don't feel like as somebody who's kind of just coming to bus to visit the Vatican. You feel like a real pilgrim walking into the Vatican. It's really amazing to do. We offer this from Siena, or from Lucca through Siena and down into Rome. About 3 weeks of the Via Francigena. It does come from Canterbury in the UK all the way across France, all across the Swiss Alps and down into Italy, but it's very difficult to service that in how we provide the routes, and therefore that's why we provide it from Lucca down to Rome. So it's a really fantastic route. So all in all, that's where we're at. So So that is the subject of the first end of summer Caminos. So we have actually, so Jonathan's jumping there a bit, but we have the summer Camino routes here. And yes, I've just talked about the Via Francigena. The Camino Finisterre I didn't mention, and that's the Camino from Santiago de Compostela out to the west coast of Spain to Finisterre. Finisterre meaning Land's End, and is also kind of the end of the Camino. The Camino obviously ends in Santiago, but people traditionally walk out to Finisterre. Very important focal point. It was back in Celtic times, is where they did birth, deaths, and marriages, sacrifices, and everything else. So Finisterre, Land's End, that's where they saw the sun disappearing over the horizon in the Atlantic. So it's a very important focal point and really fantastic to walk out to. Camino del Norte, the Camino Inglés, the English Camino, Porto de Bayona, and the Last 100 collection, because they are the most popular. So we'll move quickly into the first one, which is the Via Francigena. As I said, this is the Camino to Rome. I might have got ahead of myself a bit because I've already given you a lot of the information. As I said, a very important route historically, because back in the day, the Archbishop of Canterbury had to go to Rome to get his paper signed, and he did something quite unique. When he walked the route, and this is way back in, I think, the 5th century, when he walked the route, he recorded what he was doing, how he was doing it, where he stayed, who he met, and this is reputedly the first guidebook ever written. So it's a really interesting route, so much history around it. And as I said, we do the route from Lucca to Siena. Most popular, Lucca to Siena in Tuscany. Tuscany is on everybody's kind of bucket list to travel in, but to walk through Tuscany as a pilgrim is amazing, and you still get the same scenery, the food, but you feel part of the culture as opposed to a tourist whizzing through it. So if you just click on there, Jonathan, please. Thank you. So yeah, as I said, Lucca to Siena is the most popular, and you can fly into Pisa, just pop down to Lucca, and then walk to Siena, and either go down to Rome to fly out, or back up to Pisa to fly out. It's about 300 kilometers north of Rome, so you're not quite in that area yet. But as I said, Tuscany is stunning. Siena is a must see. You have the famous Palio, the horse race in the central square. Impossible to walk a Camino at that time, but because there's so many people booking there. But yeah, it's a spectacular place. The last 100, and that's a walking week. Lucca to Siena. The last 100 of the walk into Rome is from a town called Vertibo into Rome. So your 100 kilometers, which you obviously must do to get your certificate, credential for the Via Francigena. And you do walk right up to the Vatican Central Square. And for me, Rome is one of the most incredible cities on the planet because it offers so much history, and there's so much to see there, from the ancient Roman times up to obviously the Vatican and modern times as well. And yeah, so it's a really great route. So let's keep motoring on. The Camino del Norte. So this is again a route that's becoming very popular. It runs in parallel with Santiago, with the Camino Frances, which most of you would know, but maybe not so many would know about the Camino del Norte. So it comes across the northern coast of Spain, kind of on the Bay of Biscay. And so you have the sea on your right, and there's a fantastic natural park on your left. You're not walking over those mountains that you see, you're walking around them. So that's very comforting to know. And San Sebastian has one of the highest per head of populations Michelin stars anywhere in Europe, and it's also incredibly affordable food. And they also have, instead of they have pinchos, so you go into the bar, you pay a fiver, and they'll feed you forever. So it's for food lovers, for beach lovers, for coastal walking lovers. It really has everything. This is a Basque country, so you're going to get a little bit of that culture as well. So Celtic culture, not so much. They don't feel so much like they're Spanish. So the culture is very different, very Celtic, quite Irish in a sense. There's a lot of Irish musicians who hang out there, so it's really good. And people think of Spain, they think of kind of, I suppose, very arid, hot country, but in northern Spain it's very green. Average temperatures anywhere between 18 to 25 degrees. Obviously, there are weather spikes and heat waves and things like that. You can't cater for them, but in general, it is a bit cooler up in northern Spain, so it's very good for hiking. So click on there. And here's a little map of the Camino del Norte. So you can see that it runs across the whole northern coast and then cutting down into Santiago. Probably one of the most popular sections of this doesn't finish in Santiago de Compostela, but is pretty much at the start of the route from San Sebastian to Bilbao. And yeah, we all know, we've all heard of those cities with Bilbao, with the Guggenheim, and San Sebastian with its fantastic food. So it's really, yeah, it's really special. And there's good flight services into both of those cities. Again, if you're coming transatlantic, you're going to have to connect into there. But yeah, it's excellent route. Cannot recommend it enough. You see that the route starts a new run, which is about 20 kilometers from San Sebastian. We do start in San Sebastian. We don't start it from Irun because generally that route's not very nice. It's not very viable. And the photo you see on the slide, although you can't see the person walking, is very typical of what the route you will be walking. So scenery second to none. San Sebastian Santiago obviously is the full route. It's going to take you about 4 weeks. It's a really incredible route that it's vastly changes from start to finish because you're coming from that Basque region down into Galicia and into Santiago. The last 100 kilometers of the Camino del Norte is from Villalba down to Santiago. Actually links up with the Camino French Way at the very end. So you're getting a bit of both. And what you are getting is kind of much less people walking this route. So more adventurous. You feel a little bit more, I suppose, that you're out there on an adventure, and yeah, but it still has that Camino element to it. Bilbao to Santander as well, fantastic route to offer. So I think um, basing yourself from Bilbao is excellent. So roll on there, and we'll come to your questions hopefully at the end. So Porto de Bayona, one of my favorites. So this is essentially in Portugal, which is about Porto is about 230 odd kilometers south of Santiago de Compostela. It's on the Portuguese coastal way. So the Portuguese way comes from Lisbon up through kind of central Portugal. So it's not coastal from Lisbon, but definitely from Porto up to Bayona is coastal. Porto is one of the most popular cities in Europe to travel. It's also one of the most inexpensive cities in Europe to stay in as well. Really fantastic traditional city of Portugal, and Portuguese food, culture, life is something to be experienced if you haven't done it before. Uh, Definitely worth the second overnight in Porto before you start your walk up the coastal route to Bayona. Very traditional around here between the fishing and the farming. So you're going to feel like you're in rural old world Portuguese life. And as it says there, if you're a foodie, this is another great route because you're going to get that traditional seafood straight out of the sea. Local wines, Portuguese wine, you don't see a lot of, but it is fantastic if you're a food and wine lover. So this is a great route, and we have a little map of it coming up next. So you can't, that is very little map, but yeah, it's coming kind of from central Portugal up to the border right on the border, finishing in Bayona, which is just in Spain. So you do get the experience of both Spanish and Portuguese. There's no border between Portugal and Spain, so you don't have to worry about that. You just walk through the border essentially, or you can get a boat through the border. There's another route that isn't listed here, but I'd like to mention is the spiritual way, which is just a variant of the route. And it comes up, and the second last day before you enter Santiago is a boat day where you get a boat across the estuary. But it's a fantastic route as well, listed on our website. Just look up for the spiritual way. Porto is a UNESCO city. Obviously, port wine was invented there, and that was to keep the sailors happy as they sailed across the Atlantic. So they extra distilled it to keep it safe. And yeah, historic fishing villages and seaside. Bayona, medieval port town. It's got a fantastic power door to say if you want to upgrade into a lovely power door right on the seafront. So really, really, really good place. Thank you, Jonathan. So finished there. I talked about it. This the start, end of the world. Sun goes down over the horizon. It was a very huge focal point for the Celtic world as well, and it was reputed that Saint James came here to start the spreading the word of Christianity. And this is so it is a very important point. And people do walk out to Finisterre. It's about 90 kilometers from Santiago de Compostela, and you start in Santiago and you walk out of Santiago, which is something not a lot of people do. But if you've done any Caminos before, this is an excellent second experience that you can do, or third experience. So fly into Santiago, walk your 90 odd kilometers out to Finisterre, and what people burn their boots on the beaches, but I think that's more for people who walked all the whole way and probably not very environmentally friendly, so don't do that. But you can continue your walk for 2 days out to a fantastic little fishing village called Muxia, and that will really end the journey for you. And yeah, lovely rugged route. I kind of call this the Irish Connemara of Spain because it's very green, it's very rugged, it's extremely traditional. So great route. And that's a photograph of the lighthouse in Finisterre. So yeah, end of the world. There's a little map there from Santiago out straight west out to the western coast. Again, the western seaboard of Europe with Portugal, the Galician seafront. Then you have Wales, Ireland, Scotland. It's all very Celtic and all very connected back through history. And again, you can cycle all these routes as well. So sorry, go ahead there. The Camino Inglés, which I call the lazy way, which is coming straight south from the north coast of Portugal. You still get your 100 kilometers in, but as I said, the English used to take their boats down to northern Spain and then walk down back in the day. So it's a very historically significant for us and the English, but now becoming again a very popular route because that northern coast is becoming kind of more touristic, but not overly crowded and not overly touristic. So you get a sense of that. But the minute you start walking through the countryside, you're back into that traditional Galician farming way of life, which is very, very traditional and lovely. So next slide, please. So yeah, two options here from Ferrol to Santiago, which will be the most popular and a bit longer, and A Coruña, which is quite a big town in northern Spain and becoming quite a touristic town, down into Santiago. So two great options. Again, if you've walked a Camino before and you're looking to do another one and you still want to walk into Santiago, this is an excellent option. I can highly recommend it enough. A little bit more adventurous, a little bit more less people on it. So again, you're going to get that feeling that you're on more of an adventure, but a great second, third choice. And we have our last 100 kilometers collection. Finishing in Santiago de Compostela, specifically for people who have it's their first time doing the Camino. It's a really important part of the experience because now now the rules have changed a little bit. So I don't want to confuse anyone, but you can walk 100 kilometers anywhere on the Camino and then get to Santiago and they'll give you your certificate. But I think most people want to do that last 100 kilometers into Santiago. It's the best resource, it has the most hotels. People say it's very busy. I kind of disagree with that because you're walking a route, and when you're hiking on a walking route, everyone's going the same way, so it's always spread out. There's definitely more people on it than the other routes, but the atmosphere is incredible. The camaraderie is incredible. The chats and the stories are incredible. You have people who've walked. I've met people who've walked from Hungary the whole way to Santiago, and these are the people you meet in the restaurants when you're having lunch or in the evening when you're having dinner, and you just get to know each other. You could walk with them for a while, and they ask you your story, you're telling their story, and that's the nature of the Camino. It's specifically on the last 100 kilometers, and it's really fantastic and something to experience if you haven't done it before. So yes, last 100 kilometers. You need to walk that to get your certificate. You have your passport that is stamped at the start of each day, at the end of each day. You present that to the credential office in Santiago, and they'll then give you the certificate. The most popular is Sarria to Santiago, which is the first one on the list there on the French way. Then Vigo to the Portuguese coast away. So you can do that from Bayona, which we've talked about, or the next stop is a town called Vigo into Santiago, and both starting at both locations will get you their certificate. Orense on the Via de la Plata, that's the route that comes from Seville right up through central Spain. But we only do the last 100 kilometers. And again, this is one that's little known. And I love this route because it's coming up through gorges. There's it's really stunning. There's wine terraces, and Orense is also a spa town, so not a bad place to spend an extra night. And the route into Santiago is again not that much populated, and it's very good. The Camino del Verne is another different way to get into Santiago for last 100. This is very little known route, and also known as the winter way because it's that little bit further south than the French way, so just a little bit warmer, a little bit more covered. Villalba is the last 100 kilometers from the northern way, so that's coming south from the north coast. We've talked about the Finisterre way, the classic way. Now, again, you can do it in reverse and get your certificate. So you can actually start in Finisterre, not to complicate everything, but you can do the Finisterre way in reverse. It's the only Camino we offer in reverse. And I think most people don't go the opposite way, but yes, you can do it. So one route we haven't talked about is the Primitivo Way, and you can walk less than 100 kilometers from Lugo, which is a town north of Sarria. And that does connect up with the French Way halfway through. So you kind of start in a different location, get a couple of days, which not that populated, and then you hit the population of all the people coming on the French Way. So I think that's quite a great route to do. And Lugo is quite a big center in Spain, in Galicia specifically. So it's a good city to stay in. Ferrol, we've had that from the English Way. And then, just for something different, the Vertibo to Rome on the Via Francigena, that's going to get you a certificate in Rome for the pilgrimage to Rome. So that's pretty much it. I know we have lots of questions flying in there, which I know Jonathan's going to ask. But as I said, you can get an instant quote on our website. So CaminoWays.com, you'll see a pop-up saying create a quote. You literally just put in the dates you want to go, the route you want to go, the number of people going, and it'll throw back a quote at you instantly. We get a record of that and we will reply the next day or as soon as possible, usually within the next day, or sometimes within the same day if you contact us so very early. And then we can tailor it from there, sort help you sort out exactly what you want to do, answer your questions, and we have a great sales team that will look after you on that. Our website is CaminoWays.com. Email info@caminowways.com will get you into us, and you can also phone us as well. And then we are available for live chats exactly like this, but we can do it one-on-one. All our emails have a link to go into our scheduler, which you can click and you can actually pick a time. It's a GMT time, office hours, but you can pick a time, you can talk to us one-to-one. And we do an awful lot of that because Camino is, it's kind of I suppose, a once in a lifetime opportunity. For some people, it's a lot more than that because they're coming back again. And thank you for being a repeat customer. And also, we'd love to get your feedback. If you're having problems with any of our systems, booking with us, if it's something on the Camino you don't understand, or if it's a problem with flights, or if you feel too expensive, or you're coming from the United States and you feel there's a kind of a block for you there, have a chat with us because we will talk it through with you and see what we can do with you. But we really appreciate your feedback, good or bad, because that helps us help you essentially, and that's very, very important. So I'm going to stop talking for now, and then Jonathan's going to chuck the questions at me, and hopefully we'll get through. So we'll do about 5 minutes of questions, and then we'll sign off. But thank you very much. And yep, first question, please, Jonathan.
Thanks a million, Jeremy, and thanks for everyone for attending today. So our first question is from Isabel, and it's: do you offer Camino routes or experiences connected to the total solar eclipse on August the 12th, 2026?
Yeah, this could be really big. I saw the solar eclipse last year in the United States that pretty much everything from north to south of the United States along the line of the eclipse was booked fully. So we think this could be a big thing. And yes, we are looking at packages for that. My advice is get in early, get in now, get it booked. I think Jonathan has a blog or is doing a blog on the eclipse. So it's either on our website or not, Jonathan.
It's the current work in progress, which should be published by the end of next week, I'd say.
Perfect. So it's going to give you the locations of where they are and what routes you should do and where you should be on the eclipse. So it is a big one. We do believe that hotels will be booked out very quickly. And I also know that bus tour companies are getting in there as well. So it's something that could be very big. And if you are interested in that, get your request in now.
Okay, so we have a number of questions coming in now, so I'll try and get through them as quick as possible. So the next one is from Carol, and it's: do your maps take us all the way to the specific hotel booked?
No, the mapping is on the route, so it's the actual Camino route. But on the travel documents, the online travel documents, we give you the address, the phone number, the website, plus the Google Map link of the hotel. So and absolutely correct question, because when you get into a town or city, I find that the hardest to actually find the hotel. So you just put in the name of the hotel in Google Map, and it'll bring you to the hotel. And it's also quite difficult to navigate yourself away from the hotel and out of the town in the morning. That's something you should be aware. But then you just link back into the Camino route map, and it'll bring you to the kind of location outside the town where the Camino starts again. But so really, just come off your Camino map when you get into the town, put in the address of the hotel, and that'll take you to the hotel.
Okay. And the next question is: what is the temperature like on the Portuguese route during August and September?
Yeah, August, you can definitely get weather spikes and heat waves. It's definitely about 5 or 6 degrees hotter than normal. So I say anything from 26 to 30 degrees. With any kind of weather spikes, heat waves, it's going to go up to 32 to 35. So hopefully that doesn't happen while you're doing. September is much better. So you're going to come down to about kind of 18 to 24. Again, there can be weather spikes, but don't forget you're walking on the Atlantic, so you also always have that sea breeze coming in. When walking the Portuguese coast away, always bring your swimming trunks because you during the walk at lunchtime to hop in the sea or at the end of the day is just absolutely magical because your body is quite exhausted, but hopping in the sea is so revitalizing. It's amazing. Make sure you bring a towel, make sure you bring a spare pair of socks, and make sure you wash your feet properly, get all the salt off your feet before you and dry them properly before you put your shoes and socks back on, because salt is abrasive and can cause blisters.
Okay, and Cameron has kind of a follow-up question to that, and he's asking whether things are still open around that time of the year or are they closing for winter?
The Camino everywhere essentially runs right up to mid-October now. Because of climate change, the seasons have actually extended. So April is a fantastic month to walk, and right up into October, even the start of November is becoming popular. So everything is open and everything is working.
Okay, and the next question is from Michelle, and she's asking if you could talk a little bit more about Sarre to Santiago.
Yeah, so not sure exactly what to say, but again, it's the route that is most popular. May and September are the biggest months on Sarre Santiago is when it's most popular. So if you can avoid May, September, I would advise it. But like late May, early May, late September, early September is good. But also the fantastic months, and as I said, March, April, June, early July, fantastic months to walk it. It's a very traditional route. So as you're walking through, you obviously have to leave a town in the morning, go into town in the evening, but the towns are typical working towns of the area. And then during the day, you're walking through agricultural countryside and what we call in Ireland boreens, which are little tiny country roads with virtually no traffic on it other than cows and tractors, a little bit of forestry track and a little bit of farm trail. Walking through farmyards, and everybody's so welcoming and lovely. I'm not talking about the local people. They'll always help you. Very well marked with directional markers. Obviously, there's other people walking as well. So you're going to meet people. And about every 3 to 5 kilometers, you're going to come across a little cafe, restaurant, converted shed. They've worked out that people are going to be looking for lunch at a certain location, so you've got to see quite a few farmers who have converted sheds into really fantastic little cafes and restaurants. And then obviously the last day walking into Santiago is fascinating because you walk up over the mountain and then you have that wonderful view of Santiago, and then you come down into the city and it's quite emotional. No matter who you are, it's very emotional to finish when you get into the central square. So it's a great journey. Yeah.
Okay, and then Caroline is asking, where can we get the Camino passport? And just curious why the passport is not included in the total price.
Yeah, we've become paperless essentially, and we don't send out anything by mail anymore. But we've also, talking. We go to a conference every 2 years, and obviously we meet our suppliers every as much as possible. So we're talking to everybody, all the suppliers on the ground on the Camino, and we work very closely with them and the local tourist boards. And the local providers say, listen, we provide these, and we'd love your clients to buy them off us. So essentially, we really want to support the local providers on the ground in Spain. And it's only a couple of euros to buy it, but it's really good for them for you to buy it from them. So the best place to buy the passport is from those guys in Spain. We have a blog online just on our website. The top right of our website, there's a magnifying glass. Click that, type in passports. It's going to give you a lot of information of where to go to get them. You can get them online before you travel if you wish, or you can get them when you arrive in Spain or Portugal or wherever you're starting your Camino. So it's really easy. It's very simple. I know all the other companies provide them. We don't anymore, but we do it specifically to support the people on the ground in the locations you're going to.
Okay, so the next question then is from Angela, and she's asking about how the weather is in the middle of September and asking about rain.
Yeah, I think when you're on the Camino, especially in northern Spain, there's the old saying, "The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain." It doesn't. It falls mainly in the north. So you will always expect rain, no matter when you walk, whether it's April, May, June, July, August, September. You might have a day of rain, and when it rains, it's in the morning, it's sharp and fast. So while you will always be in warm, hot weather, So you have your hiking gear tailored to that. You should always have something like a poncho that you can whip out of your bag quickly and get it over you so you're protected from the rain. And I think that's just be prepared for it, but you're not going to be hiking in cold weather. If you're coming from Florida or somewhere like that, you may feel cold because you're coming from very hot to quite cool. But yeah, in general, you're walking in good warm weather, but you should always expect rain at any time of the year.
Okay, and the next question from Caroline, I can answer this. So is the webinar being recorded? So the webinar is being recorded, yes, and it'll be uploaded to our YouTube channel by tomorrow evening. So then following that, sorry, good.
Yeah, I just see one there. Are there any issue with dogs, whether walkers or personal safety? Yeah, you are walking through farming areas and pretty much right by farming gates. And yes, there are local dogs. They're generally absolutely fine. You ignore them, they'll ignore you. Some of them will bark, but don't forget there's Camino walkers passing those farmyards, every minute of the day nearly. So they're absolutely fine. We have a lot of people asking us, can they take their own dogs? We don't recommend it. The hotels won't accept them anyway, so it's not possible. But there has been stories where people bringing their dogs. Obviously, when you bring a dog into somebody the other dog's territory, there's going to be an issue there, and there might be dog fights, and it has happened. So you need to be very careful with that. But people and local dogs, absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever. Just always be aware of what's going on around you, as you would anywhere where you go. For me, the Camino is incredibly safe. We've been working on it for 15 years and encountered very, very few accidents. Incidents. I can only count them on one hand in 15 years. So for me, it's very, very safe. But you should always be aware of what's going on around you. But that's the same anywhere you go.
Okay, and we have time for about 2 or 3 more questions. So Chris is asking.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead. Just
go.
Chris is asking, what's the busiest time for the Camino Frances, especially this area?
September. Full stop.
Okay.
September is the busiest.
The next one is Charlene, and it's the best way to get to Porto from Lisbon. Porto is the start of her Camino.
Yep, from Lisbon you can take the train up to Porto. You can fly, but probably easier to take a train, to be honest with you. You'll be in the air for about 20 minutes if you fly. There's an amazing website called www.rome to Rio, ROME, the number 2, Rio, RIO. Put in your start point, put in your end point. Is going to give you all the options. It's accurate, it's correct, and it's a fantastic utility to have.
Okay, I think we have one more question, and then I think that should be everything. So the question is from Mona, and she said it's on her friend's bucket list. She cannot walk more than 5 miles a day. Can any of these routes be customized for her needs?
So 5 miles a day, which is about 9 kilometers a day. So look at Sarria to Santiago, the easy route. We can tailor down the kilometers per day down to around an average of 10 kilometers, which is not far off where you're at. There is one longer day on that. And if you feel the day is too long, we advise you just hop in the local cab from the hotel. You can book the local cab from there, a couple of euros, take you 5-6 kilometers, and then walk the rest. But yes, look at the easy way, the easy last 100 kilometers on our website. Camino Frances, easy last 100 kilometers, and have a look at it. Ask us for the itinerary. Send us an email at info@CaminoWays.com. We can build the itinerary for you and send it, and you can have a look at it under no obligation. It's just send you information. But yeah. Okay, I think we'll sign off now. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for putting all this together. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. I'd love to know where you're all from. As I said, please give us your feedback at info@caminos.com. Address it to myself, Jeremy, and because we'd love to hear how we're doing for you and what we could do better. And hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day or evening or morning, wherever you may be. And we'll see you on the Camino.